following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
This is Talkin Cowboys. Streaming live from the Dallas Cowboys World Headquarters at the Star in Frisco.
First down, handoff, Elliott plowing to the goal line. Buried, sacked by Lawrence. Prescott keeps it, and he bangs it in for the touchdown.
And now your hosts, Isaiah Stanback, Heckma Harrison, Rob Phillips, and Kyle Yeomans.
Oh, it's a Tuesday edition of Talkin Cowboys here from the Star in Frisco and the SWBC Mortgage Studios. The morning after a 38-10 loss to the Arizona Cardinals on Monday Night Football. Boy, do we have a lot to talk about here over the next 45 minutes. 45 minutes isn't going to be able to contain this show. I can feel it. Isaiah Stanback is sitting across from me. I know he's ready to let it rip. I know Heckma Harrison, who's in his household, I know he's just ready to let all the frustration out. And then Rob's wearing a hoodie this morning, and that should tell you everything. Rob Phillips. So we've got ourselves a show for you here over the next 45 minutes. I'm Kyle Yeomans, and boys, where do we start? Talk about the turnovers. 4 turnovers for the Cowboys yesterday. They lost to a quarterback that's from your hometown who only had 9 completions. Only time in the Super Bowl era that has ever happened, especially whenever they get blown out like they did. 38-10 was the final score. But Rob, we'll start with you. You were in the stadium for that one, AT&T Stadium, which had 24,000 fans, at least at the start of the game. I don't know how many there were at the end of it. But what did you think of last night's ball game, and what were your thoughts?
We're not doing the smelly sticker segment this week. Right?
No.
I don't think so.
No smelly stickers for anybody.
It's a great idea, but we're not there today. To me, this is the worst loss of the season so far because it was a repeat of the previous 4 games, except you didn't have Dak Prescott to come in and fix it. Mm-hmm. And because you have your backup quarterback in the game, I know Andy Dalton is a starting caliber quarterback. He's had 1 week of practice with the starters. You've got to lift him up. You got to do what you can to help him. Mm-hmm. He didn't play his best game, but the turnovers continue to be a problem. Big plays on defense continue to be a problem. And, you know, if you're going to win games without your best player, you got to focus up and you got to be sharp. And that was the worst performance they've had of the season in terms of turnovers, which is saying something. 4 turnovers. They haven't had more than 3 in the first 5 games of the season. And there's your ball game. There's your season right now. -12. We've talked about it over and over, and it's the same problem, and it's the same story. And it's going to continue until they get it fixed.
Heckma?
Oh, man. What a morning to have this responsibility, because it's one of those losses that doesn't sit right with you because of the effort. You quarter by quarter, I guess if you just say first quarter, the defense was giving us everything that we had been looking for. It looked like they had shored up a lot of their problems, communication errors. We were even getting some push up front. And then, you know, once the turnover started to happen, it just seemed like it sucked all of the air out of the building, especially from our defense. They just went back to some of their old habits. And it's on defense, I guess it's the communication problems among the defensive backs. It just seems like they're out of sorts, or I'm tired of the excuse of maybe they don't know what they're doing, but just out of sorts. I can't go with that notion that they don't know what they're doing. It really bothers me to see these big plays and guys running free, knowing that they have to get a stop, can't get a stop, or can't get off the field. You know, and you know, Isaiah talked about it beforehand, and just saying, look, these are the things that we need to look for. We showed it in film session. We talked about Budda Baker, and I mean, man, if Budda Baker doesn't go to the Pro Bowl off of this one game, I don't know, man, because he had himself quite an evening.
All right, Isaiah. Man, in the words of Charles Barkley, just terrible. Terrible
to you.
It was not good, man. You know, I guess the good news is, you know, we won time of possession. We won it.
Oh,
yeah.
Did they?
Yeah, 33-26.
Yes,
so there goes my tip. That was my tip for the game, and we won that.
Wow.
But we definitely didn't win the game. No, I mean, this was not a good performance. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Andy Dalton, I tooted his horn all week, and I think he still will pay off for the Cowboys down the stretch. Probably starting this week. As you already attested to, Rob, he had 1 week, and you guys, everybody saw it. I mean, people can drag his name through the mud all day long because we lost the game and he didn't play very well, but as a backup quarterback, you don't get a lot of reps with the ones. You just don't. You don't get a lot of reps in practice. Period. You might get some 7-on-7 reps, but you're running. You could tell that their timing was out of whack. They were not in sync by any means. Mm-hmm. Seeing a play on paper, seeing it on video, and the coaches talking about it in the meeting room is one thing. But when you take it to the field, there's so many other elements that come into play. As a quarterback, you have to be able to have your timing with the receivers. You got to know when they're going to break their routes off. You got to know the nonverbal communication as far as their body languages and when they're going to make breaks and cuts. And there's so many elements to the game that fans most likely are not going to necessarily be that empathetic to. But as a former player, I'm just going to caution you to say, everybody out there, just to be patient. It's hard to say when you're 2-4, but be patient with Andy Dalton. I said it in the pregame show. He would not be the reason why the Cowboys lost, and he was not the sole reason why the Cowboys lost. This defense played well, as you mentioned. Heck, these guys looked like they had shored things up. LVE came in. Obviously, him coming back, was a lot of question marks, and you could see the leadership that he has on the field. He was literally hitting dudes on the hip, hitting them on the butt, getting them lined up properly. Guys were, you even see Jalen looking at him like, oh, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be at. Like he came over and he took the realm. But all in all, man, turnovers was the thing, and Kyler Murray did exactly what we said he was going to do, Rob. When we talked about it in film session, I think the defensive ends did what they were supposed to do, right? They were upfield. Mm-hmm. I think the interior D linemen did okay, but they got too wide, right? Just like we talked about. As soon as he saw that hole, he's gone. I think guys had leverage, right? Against any other quarterback, aside from Michael Vick, these guys would have been able to contain him. But he is who he is, and he broke what was good containment. He's one of the best athletes in the league. I mean, you give him that respect. And then when you talk about
fast.
Lightning, not only just fast, but he's quick as all get out, right? So even when you have leverage, he can make you change your leverage based upon him just making one move, right? So kudos to the defense. I think they played a lot better than what they have played in the past in the front seven. In the secondary, oh my gosh, I'm sure we'll get to it. This cover 4, they just toss it out the window. We were watching the game yesterday, Rob. This cover 4 has to stop because teams are literally, I'm sitting here watching teams scheme against cover 4 in our
eating it up.
In our inability to run it the way it's supposed to be ran. Larry Fitzgerald was a decoy for D-Hop, right, on passes that weren't even completed, but they were still there. Buda Baker on defense was a complete dog. He is who we said he was. So all in all, I know there's so much to unravel, but it just wasn't a good game for the Cowboys, and they just want to fast forward to Washington.
Well, I mean, that's all we got to talk about. All right, that's it for Talking Cowboys today. We just hit every piece of it. No,
let's go.
I mean, here's some stats for you. This is the first time since 2015 that the Cowboys have started sub 500 through week 6 of the NFL season. And the last time they did so, they went 3-13 and, of course, drafted Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott in the 2016 draft. Since 2007, Tony Romo's first season as a full-time starter for the Cowboys, Cowboys replacement quarterbacks, quote-unquote non-week 1 starters, are a combined 7-21. Pretty close to what Andy Dalton's career record in primetime is. 6-21 now is his career record in primetime. So things didn't go right from a quarterback perspective. You could say that about the offensive line. You could say that about the secondary. You could say that about the defensive line as well. But I think you start with turnovers. 4 turnovers. He took it, and even Mike McCarthy started his presser last night with it, Rob, and he talked about how you have a minus 12 turnover differential. No other team in the NFL has more than 12 turnovers, and you have a minus 12 turnover differential. It's hard to win games whenever you put your defense in that bad of a situation on multiple occasions each week, every single time, Rob.
He's got to be pulling his hair out. And, he said it starts with me, but, the foundation of his program in Green Bay, what we're learning, the way he's harping on these turnovers, I went back and looked at it, and he may have referenced it a while back, too, that, they were plus in the differential every year. in Green Bay every year. I think he was close over 13 seasons. It was like plus 100 or something close to it.
Wow.
They just don't take care of the ball at all. And when it's your best players, that's what makes it even worse. And you guys spoke about Andy Dalton and what Isaiah said. He's not the reason you're going to lose games. That shouldn't be his responsibility coming in as the backup. And Jerry actually spoke to that on the Fan on Friday. And this is what they're talking about. You know, they never gave him an opportunity to have any sort of balance. That's why I said it was just like the last 4 games. 54 pass attempts. It's the same thing over and over again, where now you're asking not Dak, but his backup to come in and try to save the game just on the strength of his arm. And, you know, they wanted to get the run established, but that's Zeke's own fault. And he admittedly that they didn't get the run established because of 2 turnovers. And I don't know what's happening there. I know that on Twitter the discussion was the sleeves and all that.
Oh.
That they went on a giant winning streak 2 years ago when he and Dak wore the long sleeves. So I don't know if it's that. But Kyle, yes, they're not going to win very many games at all if they don't get this fixed. And it's partially the defense too. You know, I think they have is it 3 takeaways this year, 3 or 4?
3
that have led to 10 points. A field goal and a return for a touchdown. So it's just the whole complimentary football thing that we keep talking about over and over again that's just not there.
The one player I think that you believe coming into this game that you absolutely needed to have a big game was Zeke.
Right.
And, you know, we talked about it at length and just not giving up on the running game and making sure that you just pounded it and the offensive line getting some momentum behind this backup quarterback. Man, those 2 fumbles just crippled us, but it wasn't the ball game, all right? We gave up those 14 points. Okay, we still were in a position that we could at least try to make this a game. We never got to that point, and it just seemed like one big play after another big play. And the 80-yard bomb, to me, that was it. Everybody could have just packed up and left after that, because to me, it was like the team said right then in that moment, okay, this is who we are. These monumental first half collapses is just who we are. And look, if you look at Andy Dalton's performance, yes, all right, he was under pressure a lot last night. But you also saw how Dak was having to escape that pressure for 5 games and get out and make these heroic efforts to bring us back from behind. We just don't have that anymore. And without that piece, man, we're dead in the water.
Whenever you look at, and I do put that Christian Kirk 80-yard touchdown reception as a huge point in this football game, but even after that, you drove down the field, you had an opportunity after the 2-minute warning to throw it to Michael Gallup, who was wide open in the end zone, and he dropped a touchdown pass. That would have made it 21-7. You got the ball to start the second half. You drove down the field again, and I believe that ended up in a turnover, or they just stalled out again in that drive as well. So you had a chance to make it 21-14, and I think it slipped through the fingertips of Michael Gallup, which I'm not going to put this game on Michael Gallup by any stretch of the imagination, because he just didn't catch the ball that one time. How do we know at that point that was going to be the final opportunity to really get back in this game? But Isaiah, and I kind of want to go off of what Heckma said here. He said Dak Prescott kind of masked and hid a lot of the problems that we saw on this offensive line. I think that came to light again this week, and maybe we relied a little bit too much on the performance against the New York Giants defense that just really isn't that good. And we moved into this week with a little bit more confidence, and then as soon as Zach Martin was out, it was ball game over. But what did you see from the offensive line and how Andy Dalton reacted behind it?
I think there was 2 things that was taking place. I think you had a quarterback who hasn't had enough time with either his line and his receivers, right? So timing was off, communication seemed off. They just haven't had enough time together. So that was not seamless by any means. So you could tell that was going on. And then the offensive line, obviously, once Frederick went down, I mean, geez, I mean these guys. Yeah, these guys just, you could tell that they were just demoralized. right? You could tell that they just lost their confidence. All the air in the stadium was taken out. It was like, no, not this one, all right? And we've already lost two other Pro Bowlers, not the third Pro Bowler, and once that happened, it was just like, oh crap, we have a regular offensive line with no all-pro guys playing right now.
Yeah.
And it was like, like I said, Dallas has been spoiled for a very long time, right? Very long time. It's been a while since they had an offensive line without a Pro Bowl, and there's a lot of teams in this league that have offensive lines without Pro Bowlers, right? And this is what you have now, and it shouldn't be that mentality. Like, these guys are all professional athletes. Like, dang, our dogs are gone, but guess what? So and so's been grinding. Let's go. Yep. Right? They didn't have anybody on the defensive line that was magnificent that you were scared of. Their guy had been he's on IR, the guy that you're worried about, right? But what they did was, to make up for that, their defensive coordinator said, we are sending the entire house and our tents and everything else we got, right? Get your dog on. I don't care what you got. Sir. We're sending everybody.
The kitchen sink.
Yeah, the whole kitchen sink. He brought everybody seemingly every play. And like we talked about, this team was going to do this. This was something that was known. They were going to apply pressure that way. They were going to test out this offensive line. They were going to get up in our receiver's face and see if they can make contested catches. So collectively, I think it was a bad combination of Andy Dalton not having enough reps with his guys and being in continuity with them, and then his offensive line just looking at each other saying, okay, who's now the leader?
Rob, whenever you look
at guys.
Go for it.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Nick.
No, I was just going to say, guys, you know what? Consider yourselves blessed that you didn't have to watch this on the broadcast and listen to Greasy last night. I'm telling you, man, he's probably one of my least favorite people this morning. He is one of my least favorite people, because if you let a Cowboy hater do color commentator for a 3-hour game, man, that's just like, and I didn't mute my television. Usually I'll mute the television, but Greasy, I got you, dog. Yeah.
Well, and Steve Levy was in that boat as well. There were a couple shots in there talking about the desert, and then they had the graphics where it was where they were trampling the defense a little bit. They got after it a little bit. They kept taking shots, little haymakers back and forth, which is fine. I mean, at the end of a 38-10 ball game, what else are you going to do as a broadcaster? I mean,
it's America's team. When they're down, it's fun to kick them, right? That's what the media does. And
they did.
And when they're up, they're at the highest pedestal, right? That's just what comes with it, and you get everybody's best shot. Mike McCarthy spoke to that during the week, and they got the best shot from Arizona. And what Isaiah said about the offensive line with Dalton, he just didn't look comfortable for basically the entire game. I thought there were times of protection held, and give them credit for 54 dropbacks and trying to hang in there. But he did get sacked 3 times. I thought there was some coverage sacks too, or coverage pressure where there weren't a lot of there were some tight windows there. The way they were covering the Cowboys receivers, he got hit 8 times. But when you're looking, we'll see what Zach's status is this week. He's going to be in concussion protocol and see how he does as the week goes on. But undrafted last year, rookie at left tackle. Conor Williams is your old man at left guard.
Yep.
And he's in his 3rd year in the league. You got a rookie center. You've got Connor McGovern, who everybody's been wanting to see him play. Draft pick last year, didn't play, and then an undrafted rookie at right tackle. I mean, oh my God, that's a tough situation. And then you throw on top of the fact that they completely threw out any semblance of balance.
Yep.
Boy, I mean, that's just a recipe for disaster.
And it looked like a disaster, especially at the beginning of that football game, and really didn't find a rhythm at all. And it's going to be a tough week, a shorter week now before you take on Washington. We'll talk about Washington a little bit tomorrow, but when we come back, we're going to look on the defensive side of the football and see exactly what was needed to shore up, and did somebody step up in the middle of that defensive line? We'll talk about it next when we return here on Talkin Cowboys.
Since 1865, Stetson hats are American-made with pride right here in Texas. And Stetson is proud to be on the field with America's team. Want to show your Texas and team pride too? You can. By purchasing your own Stetson, you can look just like how the flag guys do on field at every home game. Stetson hats, the official crown of all self-respecting Cowboys and your favorite football team.
Get yours today at shop.dallascowboys.com or at stetson.com.
Want to use what the pros use? How about the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys? Jack Black. Right now you can get the Jack Black Starter, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The starter includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites plus a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Go to getjackblack.com/Cowboys and use the code word TEAMJB. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys. The Jack Black Starter, $10, free shipping.
Essilor is a proud sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys, helping fans see more and do more with our best vision solutions. Our lens technologies reveal a world more beautiful than you can imagine. For a limited time, get the Essilor Next Gen offer. When you buy the latest generation of Transitions lenses with select Essilor lenses, you can choose a second pair of clear lenses for free with qualifying frame purchases. Restrictions apply. Find a participating eye care professional by visiting EssilorUSA.com. Essilor. See more, do more.
We're back with a tasty treat that's sweeping airwaves and taste buds. It's new Dr. Pepper and Cream Soda. Let's take a listen.
Dr. Pepper and Cream Soda's here. A new combo that's music to my ears, okay. Let's play. Cream Soda and Dr. Pepper time. Pour it in a glass of ice.
Ah, music to my ears and mouth. New Dr. Pepper and Cream Soda.
A delicious duet.
Back to Talkin' Cowboys.
Whether you're watching from home or cheering in the stands with Essilor lenses, you'll see every exciting play. Book an appointment at your local Essilor experts and find the perfect Essilor lenses for you. See more, do more, Essilor. And while we were in the middle of the break, Chris Beam gave us some news in the back, and apparently following Week 7, the Pro Bowl selection committee is actually going to hand out Pro Bowl selections to Zach Martin, Tyron Smith, Lyle Collins, and even Travis Frederick because of the drop-off after this Washington defensive line comes to town. They're all going to get Pro Bowl selections based off of the gas that we're going to see from this offensive line. Now, we'll talk about the offensive line here in a little bit because there are definitely things to shore up, and I mean, that's not the only area that the Cowboys have to shore some things up. But we are talking Cowboys Tuesday edition following the 38-10 loss to the Arizona Cardinals. Isaiah Stanback, Rob Phillips, Heckma Harrison. I'm Kyle Yeomans, and I mentioned the defensive line, and Isaiah, you mentioned a little bit earlier, you thought containment was a little bit better. I mean, you kept a Kyler Murray led ball club to, what was it, 10 carries, 74 yards, long was 16. So you kept him at least semi under control. But what did you think about the defensive line and the front seven, especially whenever they have Leighton Vander Esch back in the fold?
They were better. I was encouraged because they were definitely better, and I think that's because of the leadership. I don't want to give it all to LV. I think those guys showed up with I think they accepted a challenge. I really do. I believe that they accepted a challenge. I believe they came out with the intent, the determination to not only contain Kyler Murray, but really put a stop to what he can do. I think they were successful with that early on. I think they had him flustered. I think he was frustrated. He wasn't able to get out the pocket the way in which he really wanted to get out the pocket, which was on the outside. He had to step up and inside, which is where if he has to run, that's the direction you want him to go because he's running to the heart of your defense. Mm-hmm. He was making ill-advised passes. He wasn't accurate. So, I mean, everything that they wanted, they were getting early on. But as you mentioned, once turnovers hit, you as a defense who's playing well, you get really deflated. When you do what you're supposed to do. You get your offensive ball and then they give it right back. And guess what? I'm back on the field. Right? Okay. So and then you go back out. You're like, okay, let's get it together. Our offense, they messed up the one time. Let's go out here and ball out again. And they get the ball back again. Right? They get these guys to punt. You get the ball back on offense again, and guess what? They give it right back. So as a defense, I mean, what are you thinking right now? We're finally playing well. We got our dog back in linebacker, and our offense just gives us the business right now. So I think they played well early on, but then they lost hope.
Whenever you look at the total offensive output of this ball game, and you have the yardage of 3 plays, you have the 60-yard reception from Andre Hopkins, the 69-yard reception, 69-yard touchdown run from Kenyon Drake that was in garbage time, and then you have the 80-yard touchdown pass from Murray to Kirk. Accounted for all but 229 total yards for the Arizona Cardinals. That doesn't even really include the turnover yardage that was later on and the fact that they were pushed up against their own wall. I feel like it's a lazy thing on this Tuesday blame the defense, Rob. I could be wrong, but I think they played their best game of the year, but they were just put in awful situations. And then, like Isaiah just said, the big plays just added up later on.
Yeah, I mean, it all goes together. You cannot, when you're 2-4, you can't blame one aspect of a football team. It all ties together. Like you said, the turnovers are a problem. Now, that being said, Mike McCarthy talked repeatedly after the game about, and Jerry did too on the fan this morning, handling adversity. And part of that's the sudden change situations where, Isaiah's right. I'm sure it's deflating as heck to, be in those situations. But it's like a touchdown almost every time after these turnovers. I think it's 84 points off turnovers. They've got to be able to get a stand at some point. So it's partly there. I thought, like Isaiah said, I thought early on they tried their best to contain Kyler. Sometimes you just can't help. He's going to get out in space, and it's Jalen against a quarterback who runs a 4-3 in space. That's a tough matchup. But they were able to look. He was 9 of 20, 9 of 24 passing. He had some big plays, but they did some things to fluster him. Yep. But again, it just comes down to the big plays. The one at the end. Don't get me started on that one. But the I don't know what happened there. But to me, what's becoming clear is the offense just can't. They've got to have more positive drives because the defense can hold for a few drives, but they're going to be susceptible against teams with really top players. They're going to give up a big play here and there, and the offense has to be able to manage it, and you can't do that by giving up drives so easily with turnovers.
You know what, guys? We have 2 Isaiah standbacks. We got the house Isaiah, and then we have the studio Isaiah. Because the house, at the house, at the studio, Standback Studios, Kyle, if you would have asked him that question, he would have started melting out of his seat, right? Because it's not a lazy take to say, yeah, he just went completely out of the frame because, man, our defense we're bad. And I don't, containment, all of that. I didn't see it. I mean, I saw Kyler Murray beating contain, pitching the ball to himself, getting around the corner. You knew what we had coming to town. Kyler Murray got what he wanted every time. And I attribute that first quarter of him just being happy to be at home and knowing that he's at AT&T, and Kingsbury just had to tell him, hey, dog, calm down. I know you're ready to go off, but you're missing wide open guys. And what happened? As soon as he calmed down, he throws an 80-yard bomb that was there the first time that he tried it. Mm-hmm. And look, the 2 turnovers are one thing, but guys scoring on those turnovers are another thing. It's just not a necessary thing. Like you turn the ball over and you can go in and score. No, we put our defense back out there, hold them to a field goal at least. We can't stop anybody, and at the historic pace that we're on, and they showed it, man. We've given up more points than any other defense in 50 years? 50 years. Yes, 50 years. And man, defensive line wise, 79 Hamilton. I mean, this guy's in on a 4th and 1. I don't see Dante Paul. I don't see anybody else. 79 was a guy that was showing up last night. Even Neville Gallimore was chasing guys down and making tackles. But linebacker-wise, even on that long run by Kenyon Drake, who by statistical numbers was having about an average season. Now he looks like Marshall Faulk. But, our linebackers were just in the wash, and this guy takes it. Come on, this is a part where everybody has to look at themselves and say, okay, look, we are on pace to be the worst defense ever. And if they have any pride in themselves, this is the point where you start looking yourself in the mirror and tapping yourself right here in the middle and saying, look, man, we got to have more heart than this. We can't just come out and get our lunch taken. I don't think anybody thought that the Cardinals offensive line was any good. But last night, as a collective group, they looked unstoppable. They got whatever they wanted from us, man. This is awful. This is awful. And I don't know, we're going to talk about it all week, how we fix it, what we do. But, dude, there's just no heart in this. You just don't see any effort, no want to stop it, right? And I'm frustrated as hell if you can't tell.
Oh, we can tell, and I love it.
Really? You are?
Yeah. No, I love it. I want to hear that frustration. Isaiah's over here.
In fairness, Kyler does this to everybody. I will say that.
Yeah.
I mean,
and twice to us.
Hey,
Yeah.
Hey.
And you know what? You might see him again. I can't believe I'm saying this. You might see him again in the first round of the playoffs.
Hey,
don't do that to me, Rob.
But you know what?
Rob.
No. I'm stopping
no.
myself because we can't talk about the playoffs today. We can't even think about that. But I'm just messing with you.
Hey, heck, in all seriousness, like Rob just said, he was going to do this to you, right? We talked about the guys that you're going to have to put on him. If you're going to try to stop Kyler Murray, you need internal presence, you need outside containment, and then you need a doggone secondary guy to be on him to spy him. If you're going to try to contain him. They did a good job taking away the pass, right? Yeah. They took away the pass for the most part, except for the fact that, guess what? The same issue we've been having is safeties. We haven't had safeties, which is why I called on Earl to Pearl, right, for a long time now, right? They still need to address the safety position. There's a whole lot of other positions that have come into the fold now that we need to address in terms of offensive line, in terms of the D-line guys. You talked about Gallimore. We talked about was it Hamilton? Mm-hmm. And those guys are high effort guys. Those guys are high effort guys. Those guys are coming in and they're wanting to play versus some of the other guys, the veterans that we're seeing that don't seem to have that same fire and desire.
Yep.
But even on that last play of Drake, I'm watching it over and over again, even right now. Our safeties sucked, man. Like, these guys are running into holes where the running back's in 2 holes over. They're getting washed up and caught in the wash. They're not showing any kind of awareness. We talked about the coverage earlier. So, yeah, our front seven, I feel like they played better. But these safeties didn't help, right? If we had safeties that were actually diligent and actually, composed and structurally sound, you wouldn't have this run by Drake at the end of the game. You wouldn't have these big plays over the top. And that's just the facts. So even though the front seven can be better, and they were better, when you don't have safeties that are disciplined, that's when big plays go. So as we talk about, there wasn't a lot of, they didn't move the ball a whole bunch aside from, Murray doing what he does, right? But the big plays coming apart. And why do the big plays happen? Because the guys that have the title of safety aren't being safeties.
It's a good point. It really is. And I think entering this game, if we were to say you held DeAndre Hopkins to 2 receptions for 73 yards, sure, you'd be like, oh, those are one of those must have gone for a long gain. But you really take away that 60-yard gain, and you had him at 1 for 13 the majority of the football game, and you held Kyler Murray to 9 completions for 188 yards. I think you would take that as a defense, but where things went wrong was in the rushing yards. That was where the rushing yards went down. The Cardinals had 261 rushing yards, third most by any team in the game in 2020. By the way, 2 of those top 3 have been against the Cowboys, Cleveland Browns. Most yards rushed for by Arizona since having 266 in Week 5 last year versus Andy Dalton and the Cincinnati Bengals. I know that's a different kind of statistic, but just wanted to throw that out there. But when we come back, that might be a big facts thing. When we come back, we're going to look back to the offensive side of the football and see how we can find a rhythm with Andy Dalton as the quarterback, and with this offensive line as banged up as they are. We're going to try our best to piece together that offense when we return here on Talkin Cowboys.
I'm Jay Novacek, former tight end for the Dallas Cowboys. Back in the day, I was the guy who always got the tough yards, and that's why I run with John Deere today. In fact, I have a John Deere 3025E tractor that can handle any yard work I need to do, even the tough yards way out back. So if you have 1 acre or 1,000, John Deere has the equipment that's just right for you. Visit a John Deere dealer today and run with us. We are the official tractor provider of your Dallas Cowboys.
Essilor is a proud sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys, helping fans see more and do more with our best vision solutions. Our lens technologies reveal a world more beautiful than you can imagine. For a limited time, get the Essilor Next Gen offer. When you buy the latest generation of Transitions lenses with select Essilor lenses, you can choose a second pair of clear lenses for free with qualifying frame purchases. Restrictions apply. Find a participating eye care professional by visiting EssilorUSA.com. Essilor. See more, do more.
We're back with a tasty treat that's sweeping airwaves and taste buds. It's new Dr. Pepper and Cream Soda. Let's take a listen.
Dr. Pepper and Cream Soda's here. A new combo that's music to my ears, okay. Let's play. Cream Soda and Dr. Pepper time. survive.
Ah, music to my ears and mouth. New Dr. Pepper and Cream Soda.
A delicious duet.
Want to use what the pros use? How about the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black? Right now, you can get the Jack Black Starter, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The starter includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites, plus a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Go to getjackblack.com/Cowboys and use the code word TEAMJB. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys. The Jack Black Starter, $10, free shipping.
Back to Talkin' Cowboys.
Final segment of Talking Cowboys here on this Cowboys Tuesday following a 38-10 loss. The Cowboys now at 2-4. Don't miss your chance, though, to get tickets to see the Cowboys at AT&T Stadium this season with home matchups still remaining against the Steelers, Washington, the 49ers, and the Eagles as well. A limited number of tickets are on sale. Now get yours today at DallasCowboys.com/tickets. So you get to see Ben Roethlisberger and James Conner and Juju Smith-Schuster come to town. We'll see if the Cowboys defense comes to town that day, but overall you can still go find your tickets and buy those while you can. Fun times at AT&T Stadium no matter what. Final segment, though, Isaiah Stanback, Kyle Yeomans, Rob Phillips, Heckma Harrison, and yeah, still a little frustration over the 28-point loss yesterday to the Cardinals, guys. And we talked about the offensive line a little bit earlier. And Andy Dalton, of course, in his first game as quarterback following the Dak Prescott injury. And Isaiah, I wanted to ask you this question specifically. But last week, I think all 4 of us were in agreement that the gap wasn't going to be huge from a Dak Prescott drop-off to Andy Dalton. Well, it was huge, at least in game 1. Is this something that we can expect to continue from Andy Dalton moving forward, or is it really kind of just an anomaly and something that he had because of a lack of reps?
So when it comes to quarterbacks, let me think. How can I address this?
I wish I could see Isaiah right now.
Me too.
He's puzzled. Let's just say that.
Yeah, so when we say that there was a huge drop-off, what do we feel like Dak would have done better in this game? And that's no disrespect. Dak would have still thrown the ball 54 times. Mm-hmm. Dak would have maybe been a little bit more accurate because he has that continuity with the receivers, right? So I give them that. Instead of 2 interceptions
with his legs.
Instead of 2 interceptions, he might have had 1 interception and a fumble, right? So it still would have been 1 to 2 turnovers there. I'm not sure what would be drastically different in this game aside from just the timing with the receivers. Andy Dalton didn't receive time, and I'm not making excuses for him.
It was a longer week.
I mean, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about pressure.
Oh, okay.
Right? He didn't have time to throw the ball.
Okay, time to throw. Okay.
We can say that Dak, Andy Dalton got out a couple times. We could say that Dak would have got out probably a little bit more, but that wouldn't have made the receivers be open anymore. That wouldn't have made the receivers catch the ball any more efficiently. Mm-hmm. I just don't see where Dak would have had that drastic of an impact, and that's no shade on him. That's just being real. I think it would have been better, of course, simply because of his continuity, but his effectiveness. These boys was coming. They were coming no matter what. I don't care who you would have put back there. You could put Joe Montana back there. You could put Troy Aikman back there. These boys did not care. Right? They were going to disrespect anybody that was back there, and these receivers were still going to have trouble getting open against this secondary. Mm-hmm. So the issues were still going to be present. I'm sure Dak would have did a little better, but I still see when we look at the stats, I think the turnovers are still there. I think the pass attempts are still there. They won the time of possession, right? But they say kudos. But I just don't see. I think that Andy gets better. I think Dalton does get better, and I think simply because of the continuity. But the other issues that are underlying factors are still going to be present.
Rob, do you agree?
Man,
I'm with Heckma in that I do think his escapability, his mobility would have been an asset. And not to say Andy Dalton's not mobile, but I think he could have made some more things improvise-wise, make some more things happen. And Isaiah's right. I think that the continuity with the receivers is big. I mean, Amari Cooper spoke to that after the game as well. I think I just go back to what I said at the start of the show. They didn't do him any favors. They didn't help him. They didn't help lift him up and give him a chance to settle in. with the turnovers. Obviously, the protection was a problem for stretches. It just wasn't. The table wasn't set for him to step in and drive that bus like they need him to. And so I don't put this loss on Andy Dalton.
Yeah.
At all. I just Zeke put the loss on him, and I think those, it's not one guy, but those 2 turnovers just completely took the air out of the balloon.
Look, we watch a lot of football, guys, and when you do, you see those moments where a quarterback will make a play to get you back in the game. I mean, just go back to Indianapolis over the weekend. Phillip Rivers had to make plays to bring them back. And so one of the things that we talked about Andy Dalton was his ability to read defenses and his quick release. We saw none of that.
True.
Buda Baker was coming. He wasn't disguising that he was coming. He was literally running up to the line of scrimmage. The linebackers were standing in the A-gap. They let you know that we're bringing the kitchen sink at you, and you're going to have to find a hot read. He couldn't find it, okay? And when a play breaks down and you need a guy to be mobile and get out and get you those yards, he could not get us that either. So, look, I'm tired of prefacing my statements when I say something about one guy over another, no disrespect. Look, get it done, right? What are we talking about here? If that's your strength, you read, you throw quickly, the continuity, a slant route is a slant route, dog. A post is a post. A hitch is a hitch. Throw it, catch it. What are we? Is it what? I'm sorry, I'm lost right now because I don't understand.
Heck, I sense your frustration,
what?
Right? And I wish
you do sense it.
I sense the frustration, and I wish it was that easy as a quarterback that's stepping in under these circumstances. And I'm not making any excuses for Andy Dalton. I was tooting Andy Dalton's horn all week long about how he's a vet, how he's an All-Pro, and guess what? He didn't come in and perform that way. That's the facts, right? He did not come in and perform that way. But it wasn't just simply him not showing up and performing well, right? There were other factors. Let's be real. There were other factors.
Oh, heck yeah.
And
Buda Baker.
I don't think that's what Heckman's saying, though. I don't think Heckman's necessarily saying that it's all on Andy Dalton, but he didn't get it done.
No, he didn't.
Can't be.
No, absolutely.
We all came in and said he's going to make an impact because he's a veteran, because he's going to be able to right the ship at this specific moment, even with the tough situation around him. He didn't do that.
No, you're absolutely correct. And he did not. Let's say that first. He didn't get it done, right? Mm-hmm. The things that you ask of a quarterback to do, he didn't get those things done. Boom. All right, that's said out there. Now, let's talk about the offensive line. Offensive line was scared. They needed some baby wipes after the game, right? Yeah. These boys were scared. They were nervous like Purvis, okay, as I would like to say. These dudes was coming, and they were coming fast, right? And let's talk about the Peterson and those guys. They weren't giving these guys any space. They weren't getting any space.
I thought Byron Murphy had a fantastic
Byron Murphy
day.
balled out, right?
Yeah,
so
he was all over them.
So people are talking about, Arizona's not the best defense. No, they're not the best defense. But guess what? They sure played like it last night, right? These boys were all up in dude's face, and we said that they were going to put hands on these guys and make it hard for these guys to not only get open but to make catches, right? And even when they had opportunity to make catches, they didn't catch the ball, right? So that when Andy Dalton was on point, these guys didn't make plays for him, right? Now, for one reason or another. Now, everybody's talking about Dak. Oh, Dak would have been able to, get out the pocket and make more plays. How many times, y'all? How many times would Dak have got out the pocket and thrown the ball? Let's be real about this, right? Yeah, Dak might have got out. So are we talking about 2, 3?
Maybe on the third down when we did the first down.
We talking about 2, 3, 4 plays? Yeah. We threw the ball 54 times. That's less than Dak had been throwing it.
Yeah.
Right? Dak had been throwing it 57 times.
Yeah, I know.
Right? So, let's be real.
You're right, but they needed a couple different chunk plays. If he could have been in the game and hit a couple big plays, that's what they were missing. They didn't have anything down the field. I think their longest completion was 27 yards. I think he might have been able to give him a couple of those to move him down the field. I'm not disagreeing with you. I think
for sure.
We were in agreement all last week that Andy can step in and do the job, and they didn't do enough around him to help him.
Yeah. But especially when we talking about dropping touchdowns, right? We talk about dropping touchdowns. I know it was one play, but that's
into the half.
Huge play.
Big play.
Right? When you're talking about somebody who's trying to step into somebody else's shoes, I don't care what your name is. You're trying to step into somebody else's shoes who have been balling out, right? And you're struggling to get your feet underneath you, right? The O-line's struggling to protect, and you finally get a ball out, right? That's on the money. You get a drive going, and that is so demoralizing when somebody drops a touchdown, an easy touchdown, right? It kills you. It absolutely kills you. The one opportunity you have to get a little bit of confidence, I don't care if it was Heckman coming off the bench playing quarterback, right? Is if you finally get that play, you're struggling, you're like, man, here he goes right here. And that dude drops it, crap, if we can't get this right, it's going to be a long night.
And I think
and the first drive out of halftime, Kyle referenced it earlier, where it's a trip and fall situation. That's probably a PI. They didn't call it.
Probably that was a blatant PI.
That's your chance to come out of halftime and try to get something going, and just nothing. You're right. Nothing went his way.
It was one of those nights, and Steve Levy even talked about it on the broadcast, and I think he said that over and over and over again. That's just how things are going for the Cowboys tonight. Hopefully they go better as we move into Week 7, and we'll break down with the Washington football team of teams and football clubs and whatnot coming to town, or actually we go to their town this week in Week 7 and an NFC East battle. The Cowboys are still in first place right now, but I don't think anybody wants to hear that at the moment at 2-4. That one hurts a little bit even to say at this point, but that's going to do it here for Talking Cowboys today. We'll be back with more tomorrow. Join us 9:30 on DallasCowboys.com and the various streaming platforms. But for Isaiah Stanback, for Rob Phillips, Heckma Harrison, and Chris Beam in the back, I'm Kyle Yeoman saying so long from the Star in Frisco. We'll see you tomorrow.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!